how's it going? Ghastly here. Today I'm going to be rebuilding the Streamlet Single lot in Willow Creek, and this lot is currently home to the Joyner family, which includes Rocio, Tucker, Kai, and Rocio's nephew, Stuart, who has come to live with the family. And of course you can't forget their dog, Ramsey, who also lives at the property. This home is built on a 20 by 15 lot, which is a perfect size for a starter home for any Sim family, and the total cost comes out to just a little bit over $68,000. You can find a link to my Sims 4 gallery and any creative content used in the description below if you'd like to download this home to use in your game. But for now, enough of me rambling, let's get to the build. So as with all of my builds, I just kind of like to get a layout of basically the ground around the house first, so that I don't kind of go over where I would want to put any landscaping that I might add later on. Now, I know this might be a little bit backwards to what some other people do, but for me it works out pretty well because I can be a bit of an airhead, so it's definitely nice to know what goes where, kind of in more places than just in my head, because if it's just in my head, then it just gets lost and it just flies away, never to be seen again. But yeah, basically just kind of getting the porch idea that I had for this build set up, because the porch was really kind of the main thing going on in my head, that I was like, this is going to be the important part of this house. And it really did turn out exactly how I wanted it to. It was kind of based off of porches that were in my hometown that I saw a lot. They were kind of, older houses, and sometimes they were a little bit run down, but a lot of people really added their own. Oh my gosh, there's a spider eating a cricket outside my window. That's crazy. Anyway, they were just really great houses that people have really kind of been using to update the area and kind of turn into modern versions of old houses, I guess, if that makes sense. But it's really a great thing to see, because the town that I grew up in has so much history, but a lot of it was just kind of falling apart. And, it's been absolutely wonderful to watch things get new life as new generations kind of turn those homes into their own interpretation. So that's really something that I wanted to do here with the Joyner family, because, they're kind of, I don't want to call them a basic family, Rocio is a teacher and Tucker is a engineer. So they're not, they're not flashy. They're not going to be doing any of these super modern houses, but I thought that a rebuild of an older house kind of would be just perfect for them. And it is kind of their first home after living in apartments as they raised their son Kai in his younger years. And it really worked out well for them, because Rocio's nephew Stuart has come to live with the family, and we'll get into a little bit more of what's going on there in one of the story videos that's coming up with this family. And I will be having story videos for everybody in my neighborhoods, which be sure to like and subscribe for those, because I'm really excited to share a lot of the storytelling that I have going on for these families. That's really been kind of a main thing for me when I play The Sims as a pretty huge role-playing nerd. That's, coming up with stories and really kind of fleshing out these characters a lot more than what we're given, I guess in the base game, you would say. Oh my gosh, that's my absolute favorite part of The Sims, is just really coming up with all kinds of crazy things going on in their lives that really kind of help add to the drama. And sure, just living your life is kind of fun, but it's a lot more fun when there's all kinds of crazy drama going on. So I love kind of letting my Sims tell me their story. I know you're like, what, you talk to your Sims, you weirdo? No, it's just like, kind of getting a feel for the Sim and their personality, and then really fleshing out their story from there. I think you guys will like some of the stories that I've come up for these guys, and well, at least I do. I hope you do. So we'll see, But here I'm just kind of working on the kitchen, which this kitchen, oh my goodness, it ended up going through several different forms, and you'll see in the screenshots that it is quite different from the kitchen that I have here. Well, okay, it's not that different, but I did end up adding some cabinets and a few other things to it that I think will really just help finish it off. And you'll see a few different incantations, I guess. Is that the right word? Incarnations? I don't know. I'm not doing any magic here, that's for sure. But, it just ended up needing a little something extra when I was finished. So I did go back in and add a few things. And I also changed the upstairs around just slightly from what you'll see in this video, and again, you'll see that in the screenshots. Originally, I wanted to do kind of a hallway down to the lower half bathroom there, but it just ended up being way too tight. So I did go ahead and switch that over to a open floor pan. Yes, they have a pan for their living room. Yes. No, I just added a little bit of an open floor plan to the living room, and then just the half bathroom under the stairs, and added a little desk area right next to the entryway. And I think that that ended up working out much better than trying to add a hallway and having it just be way too stuffy in there. I did decide to go with a bay window instead in the kitchen, and I know it kind of doesn't really match that great with the other windows, and I know one of the big things about Sims building is kind of less is more when it comes to windows, but I have so much trouble kind of sticking to that because, oh my gosh, I love like windows and open space, and for some reason I always add the lights last, and I'm sitting here building in the dark, which is really, really weird because everybody else always has these really pretty lit up, you know, beautiful homes, and here I am, this like goblin in the dark building all these whatever, you know. That's always been kind of a pet peeve of my own building, I guess you would say, is just like, oh my goodness, why did you not just add the lights in the beginning? So I am going to work on that. Hopefully I'll eventually do it the way it should be done, or you know, the way that's easier on me, I guess you would say, because it's a lot easier to see what you're doing when there's lights on, but I always go with just the natural light, and it's so frustrating sometimes, and I'm sure it's frustrating to watch too, so I do apologize for that. And the downstairs is pretty much coming together how I had wanted it to. There are a few things that are going to be changed that you'll see in the screenshots, but for the most part, I like to keep it pretty basic and kind of a mix of old and new, maybe things that they have brought from their apartment, things that are being updated at the house, just a few things here and there. And their house will be changing a little bit as they grow as a family, and kind of as I feel like Rocio and Tucker have added new things to the home and redone things, or maybe they had a family project over the weekend to add new flooring or new lighting in a bathroom, or you know, who knows. But for now, I wanted this house to really represent the mismatch that you would see in a family that's just getting started in a home of their own, that have brought things from their past lives or from earlier in their lives with them, or things that they've bought brand new for the house, all kinds of different things that don't quite match, but eventually it'll all come together and work out really well for them. I was definitely on the struggle bus with the downstairs half bathroom. I could not find a wallpaper that I wanted to use in this bathroom, and a lot of the wallpapers are just a little bit clunky. I don't know if that's the word, but man, they just are not what I was looking for with this. And I did eventually find one, and I might actually go look for a CC one that's a little bit different, so I will update that in the description if I do end up changing that out again. Or of course, you know, you can just change it out to one that you prefer if you decide to download this home. So now I think we're on pretty much done with the actual build of the downstairs, and just adding in clutter and all kinds of things that really make the house a little more personal, and to really start adding in the little quirks of the family. And you will see with the landscaping outside, I did keep it to a minimum because as a teacher and raising two boys, it's really I didn't want to give Rocio too much landscaping to kind of worry about. And I did add inside a little bit of plants and stuff, but they're not anything that's too overbearing, anything that's going to be like too hard to take care of. It's just simple little plants, little succulents, and the type of things that you can just water and look at and be happy with. So for Rocio, I think they work out great with her busy schedule. And that's about it for the downstairs portion of this house. Just adding a few more clutter things here and there. And I really didn't want to add too much clutter into this house, which, you know, I know some Sims houses are just like full of clutter because that's, why wouldn't you when you've got so many awesome things to choose from? But I feel like for Rocio, that's just not really her thing. Like, if it's going to be there, it's going to have a function and it's going to serve a purpose instead of just kind of sitting around and looking pretty or just filling up space that doesn't really need to be filled up. Now, of course, she does have a few mementos and things that kind of remind her of her kids and her students and all kinds of things like that. But other than that, I really wanted to keep it to a minimum for this family because it just does not fit their personality to have too much sitting around pointlessly cluttering things up. I did add in dog toys, a bed, and a couple of bowls for their dog Ramsey, but of course if you decide that you'd rather your family living in this house is more maybe cat people, or maybe they don't have pets, then you can always remove those. I definitely encourage changing any of my builds that are downloaded to really suit your own families, and I would love to see any changes that you made, so be sure to maybe tweet me or tag me in an Instagram post if you make any changes to any of my builds. I would really love to see that, because I love seeing all the creativity that lives in the Sims community. It's just amazing what people come up with, and I love seeing all of the characters and stories and everything. I think that's one of the greatest things about the Sims community, is just how absolutely creative you can get with this game, or not. I mean, even the most basic of families, I think you can have so much fun with them. I've been playing The Sims since, oh my goodness, I'm gonna show how old I am here. I've been playing since the original game came out. I actually remember starting my second semester of college. I was late to my first day because I stayed up all night for like 2 days playing The Sims when the original Sims 1 first came out. It was so new and different and not like any other games that I've been playing. Of course, you know, I grew up on Nintendo and Sega and all of those, and The Sims was just like this totally new, different thing, and oh my goodness, I have been hooked ever since. It's almost embarrassing how many hours I spent making pizzas on The Sims Online when that one came out. Oh my gosh, really sad. But there's always been that special something about Sims games for me. I don't know what it is, but they've always been some of my absolute favorite games to play ever. And Sims 4 is definitely no exception to that. Sure, just like everybody else, there's a few things I would change, and there's definitely things that I miss from the older games, but nothing's perfect, and I still have a lot of fun playing this one. One of the things you'll be able to see on my channel soon is a compilation of stories put together by Ghastly, which is me in Sims form, of the everyday lives of her neighbors and just the kinds of stories that come up in just everyday living. It's nothing too spectacular, but it's still so interesting and so much drama, and I think a lot more than you would expect from just kind of boring everyday life. I know I had a lot of fun making it, so I really hope you guys will enjoy those when they come out. And then another series that's coming soon to my channel is going to be a storyline based off of a Marvel fanfiction that I wrote, and I know I'm totally outing myself as a huge geek here, but comic books have always been a huge part of my life, so of course I had to add them into my Sims game. So yeah, but hopefully if you're a fan of Marvel and a fan of the X-Men storylines, then you'll really get a kick out of this one. It's definitely a bit grittier than my usual Sim stuff. It's a little bit darker, but I had a lot of fun originally coming up with this storyline for that one, and then putting it into machinima in the Sims game was really just a ton of fun. And now that we're upstairs, as you can see, I originally wanted the smaller room up here to be the boys' bedroom because I wanted it to feel a little bit cramped. But it ended up being a little bit too tight in there, so I did move the boys over into the bedroom next door, as you can see here. And I did want it to still feel a little bit cramped in that room because it was originally just supposed to be Kai's bedroom. For the most part, the boys do pretty good sharing their space, but Stuart coming to live with them was such an unexpected thing that they really had to make do with what they had for now. It works out okay though. The boys have a lot in common and they really get along well. Kai's pretty happy to have his cousin Stuart come live with him, and Stuart is happy to have a little bit of stability in his life. There have been a few hiccups here and there, like when Stuart wants to study but Kai would rather play video games, but overall the boys have done really well about making the whole situation work for both of them. Nobody's exactly sure when or if Stuart will go back to live with his mom, but for now they're happy to have him as a part of the family, and everybody really does their best to try to make him feel comfortable and really help him feel welcome in his new home. At first, Tucker wasn't too into the idea of having another kid come live with them, but he quickly realized how important Rocio's sister and her nephew Stuart was to her, so he came around pretty quickly on the whole idea, and he's grudgingly making it work too. He's definitely enjoying the fact that Stuart is much more into sports than his cousin Kai is. Kai was always kind of more of the rather play sports on the video games than actually play them out in the field, and being an ex-soccer star in college, Tucker definitely is enjoying having someone to kick the ball around with. Naturally, this has caused a little bit of tension between the boys, but overall, Kai's pretty happy that he can do what he wants rather than what his dad would want him to do, so it's worked out okay. I was originally going to do a bathroom laundry room combo in the room right behind the boys' TV, but that ended up being the parents' bedroom. So I did go ahead and move the bathroom to the smaller room and then added kind of a half laundry room, I guess you would call it, in the hallway, and I absolutely love the way that it turned out in the end. Once again, when it came to clutter, I really didn't want to overdo it in the boys' bedroom, but I did want to have enough to make it easy to tell the personalities of each boy and kind of the small differences between the two. I did go back in and add a few more things once I finished the build, like Stuart's hamster Mojo, which you'll see in the screenshots at the end. Stuart's move was so sudden that he couldn't really bring too much with him, but he was able to bring Mojo, and I feel like that is an important part to have because that's actually one of very few links that he has back to his old life and his house with his mom. Unfortunately, some of his memories from that time in his life weren't really the greatest, but his hamster Mojo always made him happy, so he wanted to make sure that he came with him to his new life. Kai's just happy having another animal in the house, so he's perfectly happy sharing his room with a hamster. Rocio definitely wasn't happy with the idea, but she puts up with it since Stuart's been through a lot for his young age. I had a few different ideas for how I wanted to do the upstairs hallway, so I went back and forth a few times on the design idea, but I'm really happy with the way that it eventually turned out. The bathroom upstairs is a little bit small, but it's perfectly fine for the family. I mean, in the older houses, bathrooms are usually a little bit smaller anyway, so it really turned out being a lot more accurate, being a little bit smaller anyway. And in the parents' bedroom, you'll see some of the furniture and stuff is really not in the best shape. And I feel like any family, when they move into a new home, they really put the kids' room and maybe the more common areas like the living room and the kitchen ahead of updating the bedroom. And in this family, it's really no different. Their bedroom is the last thing on the list. They want to get everything else done, and they can really put up with their old stuff from college for a little bit longer, just so that everything else looks nice. And you may notice a little bit of a color scheme going on in the bedroom that you'll see repeated again in a college flag. Those are actually the colors of the university where Rocio and Tucker met. They were both soccer players, and that's kind of their thing that they had in common, and they met on the soccer field, and it was a romance. And what is it they say? The rest is history? Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of cheesy for me. But a lot of their stuff is just left over from their college years, and they just haven't quite updated it yet. And you can see I put a drop-down bed in the hallway, and that's actually going to be for Tucker's mother when she comes to visit. She'll be a fun character to meet. She and Rocio definitely have a few issues with each other, but they do their best to try to get along and keep the peace for the family. I really like the idea of putting an extra bedroom kind of thing, quote unquote, in the hallway where it wasn't really an extra room, but it was plenty of room for grandparents and other family members who were only visiting for a day or two, so they really didn't need that much space. It also makes a good little area to fold laundry once it comes out of the dryer. Once I finish with a few final touches on Rocio and Tucker's bedroom, we move on to the bathroom. And I really didn't want to do anything super fancy here either. It's just your average suburban bathroom. Maybe later they can go in and add a few updates and finishing touches on it, but for now, the most they've really done is a new shower curtain, maybe some new curtains, but not really anything major that's been changed in here from the original. And as you can see, once I built the shower into the wall, oh my goodness, that window just absolutely was driving me nuts. It did not work. So I did go back in and change the window out. And again, when it comes to clutter, I really kept it to a minimum in this bathroom because it wasn't a kid's bathroom. It wasn't really Rocio's bathroom or Tucker's bathroom. It was everybody's bathroom. So I really wanted to keep it as minimal as possible so that it could remain as everybody's bathroom and not really have a personality for one person or another. And then after putting a few more finishing touches on the bathroom, it's really just a matter of adding a few final things to the laundry room. And then I do go ahead and add a keyboard and just a little musical area for Tucker. Now that he's getting to be a little bit older and a little bit more out of shape, he can't quite be on the soccer field as much as he would like, so his dreams of being a folk singer have really started to take center stage in his life. So his little area with his keyboard in the upper hallway has really become his little songwriting area where he goes after a long day at work to unwind and really just enjoy some me time. And when it comes to the artwork and the paintings around the house, again, I really wanted it to be kind of a mismatch and not exactly as well put together as some houses might be because they are just moving into this house. They've been here about, I don't know, like 6 months, maybe a year, but they're still just not long enough to really have its own personality for the house and have everything perfectly put together. It's just things that they individually love and have kind of pieced together through the years as they've lived together. Of course, there's a lot of soccer and things from their time in college, maybe a few movie posters and musical posters, just things that really represent them as individuals. There is a lot of blue in the house because apart from being one of the school colors when they were in college, it's also one of Rocio's favorite colors. So she's just kind of naturally picked up a lot of blue things through the years, and she definitely wants that to be a focal point, or I guess a focal color in their new home. Tucker isn't really into the whole design thing, so he just lets Rocio do pretty much what she wants with the house and goes along with it. As long as he has a soccer ball to kick around and a few musical instruments around the house, he's pretty happy with the rest of it. I wasn't completely sure which musical instruments I wanted to put up here, but I figured that since he wanted to be a folk singer, a guitar was a definite thing, and then of course a piano was a good addition. So I did end up going with a keyboard just because it's a little more modern and a little more fitting to his personality. It's also a little bit more portable, so if they did need to make the extra space, say for an extra relative to come over or something, they could definitely move it around and put it aside for the time being. And just a few more plants and decorations here and there, and that's pretty much it for the upstairs. And then it's time to move out and do the landscaping for the house, which, like I said, is pretty minimal, but it ended up being really cute. And I think it definitely matches the personality and style that I have in mind for the Joyner family. It's nothing too flashy and nothing too over the top, but it's definitely a good fit for their home. I wasn't completely sure what I wanted to do with the wall here by the stairway. Originally I was just going to do a railing all the way around, but then it didn't really work because I really wanted that wall behind the washer and dryer to add a few shelves or something too. So I decided to go with a half railing on just the one side, the wall on the other two sides, and I think it worked out a lot better that way. I was going to go ahead and add some decorations to the wall by the stairs, but it just didn't look right, so I just decided to leave it blank. One of the ways that I build is just kind of winging things and playing around and seeing what works and what doesn't as a house evolves over time. I definitely start out with a general idea of how I'd like a house to look. I have so many Pinterest boards that are just full of house ideas that I definitely reference when I do my builds on The Sims, but then I just kind of like to let a house tell me what it's going to look like as it's being built. And I know that sounds weird, whatever, but that's just kind of how my brain works. And for me at least, I find that it works a lot better to just kind of let things evolve over time, rather than going in with it with a set plan and stressing myself out trying to keep up with it. For the exterior of the house, I just did a simple grayish white siding. I think that really gives it kind of a older but updated look. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I like it. I did add a brick chimney to the right side of the house, and there is no fireplace in the living room. Maybe it's one of those houses where the fireplace has been walled over, or maybe you can just add your own if that's something that you like. I think there's a bookshelf there actually right now. But yeah, I was not feeling the fireplaces on this house, but I did like the look of the chimney, so I decided, what the heck, why not? I've been so torn on how I want to do the top of my chimneys lately. There's so many different options, but none of them really exactly fit just right. So I usually just end up leaving them blank, which I believe is what a lot of other people do with theirs, but it just feels so unfinished to me. I don't know. Maybe I'll eventually find one I like, or find some kind of CC that I can add. And when it comes to finishing off the porch, I really like the red brick floors with the white siding of the house and the white banisters of the porch. It really gives it a good contrast. And just like with the interior of the house, I didn't want to add too much clutter to the front porch. I did want it to have that lived-in feeling that you get in family homes in the suburbs, but not too much. So I ended up adding a grill and a gaming table and of course a soccer ball because we have our soccer family. But other than that, that's just about it. Oh, and of course we have the little bench right by the door that's Ramsey's favorite spot to take a nap. And other than the landscaping that I do around the front of the house, that pretty much finishes up the build of the Joyner home. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I will be leaving a link to my Sims 4 gallery in the description where you can go and pick up a copy of this house if you'd like to add it to your game, as well as a copy of my updated version of the Joiner family. The Joiner family did originally just consist of Tucker and Rocio, and of course I added in Kai and their nephew Stuart. If you currently have this family in your game, you'll notice that there's not too much of a change to Tucker or Rocio. Maybe their hair is a little bit different, a few new outfits, but for the most part I like to leave them pretty close to their original form, as I don't like changing the townies and NPCs too terribly much, but just giving them a little bit of a refresh and a little bit of a more interesting backstory. Unfortunately, after finishing the house, there really wasn't much room on the slot for a backyard of any kind or anything. Now, if you wanted to, you could go ahead and add in maybe a monkey bars, a swing set, even maybe a kiddie pool to this slot. There's a little bit of room right up front where you can add that kind of stuff, but I really felt like that was just a little bit too much clutter for this family's personality. So I went ahead and just went with a little bit of sidewalk, a bike, and some trees. Of course, the boys have the park not too far down the road, so I didn't feel too bad about leaving them without too many things to play on outside. And that's about it for this build. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I didn't ramble too much. I kind of have a habit of doing that regardless, but I look forward to seeing you on my next build, so be sure to like and subscribe. I have a really fun spooky build coming up in honor of Halloween season that's based off of one of my favorite horror movies that I cannot wait to share with you guys. I had so much fun putting that one together. It was on one of the bigger lots of the game, and it was definitely different from my other builds, but it was totally worth it once it all came together. And it's on to the screenshots. Thanks for watching!